Hi everyone, this is Paul from SpanishWithPaul.com, and in this lesson we're going to talk about opposite verbs in Spanish. Now examples of these would be to turn on versus to turn off, or to turn up and to turn down. Now these are all essential must-know verbs in Spanish that you'll find yourself using all the time. So I'm going to give you lots of practice so that you become very comfortable with them. I'm also going to be referencing various things that we learned in the mini course series that I have on YouTube. So if you haven't been through that yet, I've left a link for you in the description box below this video. If becoming fluent in conversational Spanish is one of your goals for this year, then consider clicking the link above to download my free course books that go along with all of my YouTube lessons. You can also subscribe to my channel to get a brand new Spanish lesson from me every single Monday. So with that out of the way, let's get started. In the introduction of this video, I gave you some examples of opposite verbs, such as to turn on, to turn off, to turn up, to turn down. Now, while in English we're using to turn, in Spanish they have a completely different verb for each one of these actions. For example, to turn on, the verb in Spanish is prender. We have two syllables, prender. This means to turn on. I wonder if you can remember the phrase we use for I'm going to. Voy a. Now, how would you say I'm going to turn on? Voy a prender. The word for the light in Spanish is la luz. La luz. How would you say I'm going to turn on the light? Voy a prender la luz. We can also make that plural and say the lights, which becomes las luces. Las luces. How would you say I'm going to turn on the lights now? Voy a prender las luces ahora. How do you say I need? Necesito. I need to turn on the lights. Necesito prender las luces. The word for dark in Spanish is obscuro. Obscuro. Now there's a little bit of controversy about this because you'll see it written or even said as obscuro or oscuro, leaving out the B. Now where I live, they always say obscuro, the first one. So that's what we're going to stick with. To express it's dark would become está obscuro. Está obscuro. How would you say because it's dark? Porque está obscuro. Now try this one. I'm going to turn on the lights now because it's dark. Voy a prender las luces ahora porque está obscuro. Something very useful in Spanish is the phrase me puedes. Me puedes. And this is used in the sense of can you do something for me? For example, can you turn on the lights for me? In Spanish, that would be ¿Me puedes prender las luces? Here you can see me puedes is functioning as for me, can you? And then you say what it is that you want them to do. So, ¿me puedes prender las luces? How would you say, can you turn on the lights for me, please? ¿Me puedes prender las luces, por favor? You might be tempted to throw in para mí in this translation because we have it here in English, for me. But what's important to understand is that this phrase of me puedes is already doing that for you, because this is implying for me, can you? So the for me is already implied with me puedes. That's why we don't need to translate it literally as para mí. Instead, can you turn on the lights for me, or whatever else you want them to do, becomes me puedes prender las luces, por favor? Something else you may want to turn on, especially where I live, as it's always very hot, is the air conditioning. In Spanish, that would be el aire acondicionado. Now, what you'll hear is this shortened to simply el aire. El aire. How would you say, can you turn on the air conditioning for me, please? ¿Me puedes prender el aire, por favor? What about, I'm going to turn on the air conditioning now? How would you say that? Voy a prender el aire ahora. The opposite to turning something on is to turn it off. And the verb for this in Spanish is apagar. We have 3 syllables, a-pa-gar. This means to turn off. How would you say, I'm going to turn off the lights? Voy a apagar las luces. What about, I'm going to turn off the air conditioning? Voy a apagar el aire. How would you ask, can you turn off the air conditioning for me, please? ¿Me puedes apagar el aire, por favor? The television in Spanish is la televisión. But what you'll often hear native speakers shorten this to is simply la tele. La tele. Let's use it. How would you say, I'm going to turn off the television? Voy a apagar la tele. Now here we have an excellent example of why comprehension can be tough in Spanish. This sentence, voy a apagar la televisión, this is kind of like the course book student version that you'll learn in typical Spanish courses, where everything is laid out exactly as it should be. However, on the street or in real Spanish with native speakers, many of the words get shortened or cut off. You can see here we have voy a followed by apagar. So we have like a double A. So one of these A's is going to disappear in the sound when it's spoken in the real world. So it's going to look something like this. Instead of voy a apagar, what you'll hear is voy a apagar, because they've cut out this extra A. And then, as we know, la televisión, I very rarely hear that. Almost always I hear it shortened to la tele. So instead of voy a apagar la televisión, what you hear instead is voy a apagar la tele, which is a huge sound difference. And this is why it can be so challenging at times to understand native speakers. This is what they're doing. They're cutting and shortening words and flowing words together or joining them together. Now, we can't really blame them because we do exactly the same in English. So it's just an example of what can happen between kind of textbook Spanish that you'll learn and what you will actually hear native speakers saying in the real world. Once again, what's the verb to turn on? Prender. And what is I want in Spanish? Quiero. How would you say I want to turn on the lights? Quiero prender las luces. How do you say it's dark? Está obscuro. Now try, I want to turn on the lights because it's dark. Quiero prender las luces porque está oscuro. How would you say, I don't want to turn the lights on now? No quiero prender las luces ahora. What's the verb to turn off? Apagar. And how do you say, I need? Necesito. Now try to say, I need to turn off the air conditioning. Necesito apagar el aire. What about asking, can you turn off the air conditioning for me, please? ¿Me puedes apagar el aire, por favor? Let's move to another set of opposite verbs in Spanish. We'll take to turn up or to turn down. To turn up, the verb in Spanish is subir. Subir. Now this verb also means to go up or to climb up, but they also use it for to turn up. Subir. The word for music in Spanish is la música. La música. How would you say, I want to turn up the music? Quiero subir la música. What about asking, can you turn up the music for me? ¿Me puedes subir la música? The word for the volume in Spanish is el volumen. Volumen. We have volumen. El volumen. If you got rid of the N, it looks exactly the same as what we have in English. But in Spanish, you add an N, and of course, your pronunciation is very different. El volumen. How would you ask, can you turn up the volume for me, please? ¿Me puedes subir el volumen, por favor? What about this one? I'm going to turn up the volume now. Voy a subir el volumen ahora. To express the volume of the music becomes in Spanish el volumen de la música. This de stands for of. So we have a pretty good literal translation here. We have the volume of the music. El volumen de la música. How would you say, I'm going to turn up the volume of the music? Voy a subir el volumen de la música. I'm going to turn up the television. Voy a subir la tele. The word for the radio in Spanish is la radio. La radio. How would you ask, can you turn up the radio for me, please? ¿Me puedes subir la radio, por favor? What about this last one? I need to turn up the volume. Necesito subir el volumen. The opposite verb to turn up is, of course, to turn down. In Spanish, this verb is bajar. Bajar. Just like subir before, bajar means other things as well. It means to turn down, to go down, to climb down, but they also use it for to turn down. We have bajar. How would you say, I want to turn down the radio? Quiero bajar la radio. How would you say the volume of the radio? El volumen de la radio. Let's use it. I'm going to turn down the volume of the radio. How would you say that? Voy a bajar el volumen de la radio. To express because it's too high would be porque es demasiado alto. Demasiado is a word that we've used in mini courses before. It means like too much. Porque es demasiado alto. Let's try to use it. I'm going to turn down the volume of the radio because it's too high. Pause and think it out. Voy a bajar el volumen de la radio porque es demasiado alto. How do you say for me in Spanish? Para mí. Let's add that into the mix now. I'm going to turn down the volume of the radio because it's too high for me. Voy a bajar el volumen de la radio porque es demasiado alto para mí. How would you say I'm not going to turn down the radio? No voy a bajar la radio. I don't want to turn down the radio. No quiero bajar la radio. Once again, how do you say the music in Spanish? La música. Now ask, can you turn down the music for me, please? ¿Me puedes bajar la música, por favor? Can you turn down the television for me, please? ¿Me puedes bajar la tele, por favor? What about, can you turn down the volume? ¿Me puedes bajar el volumen? Let's mix and match these opposite verbs together now. What's the verb to turn on? Prender. To turn off. Apagar. To turn up. Subir. To turn down. Bajar. How would you say, I need to turn on the light? Necesito prender la luz. I need to turn off the light. Necesito apagar la luz. I'm going to turn up the volume. Voy a subir el volumen. I'm going to turn down the volume. Voy a bajar el volumen. I want to turn off the radio. Quiero apagar el radio. I want to turn on the radio. Quiero prender la radio. I have to turn up the music. Tengo que subir la música. I have to turn down the music. Tengo que bajar la música. If you're serious about learning Spanish and want to become conversationally fluent, my main course, Spanish with Paul, is live and available for you now. Inside you'll get my complete course, none of which is available on YouTube. and also my personal attention to make sure you achieve conversational fluency in the fastest time possible. In short, if you like my free lessons on YouTube and the results they're giving you, then you'll love what I have for you inside the main course. You can click the link on the screen now to find out all the details. So with that said, I look forward to seeing you again in my next video.